Call the meeting to order. This is the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission. Today is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. The time is 16:04, and welcome to spring. The vernal equinox is tonight. And I have to make this observation. This meeting of the Cape Cod Gateway Commission meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30 Alpha, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. Anybody out there recording this meeting other than people who should be authorized? Nope. Okay, very well. Sue, may I have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Chairman Griffin?
Here.
Vice Chairman Flores?
Here.
Clerk Weil?
Here.
Commissioner Beerworth is currently not present. Commissioner Bailey?
Here.
Commissioner DeGeorge?
Here.
Commissioner Gio?
Here.
Yarmouth Rep Christine Greeley?
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Sue. If everybody would just quietly join me in Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. We've got minutes for previous meetings, and it doesn't show on the agenda, but we are revisiting the January minutes because there were a couple of minor changes that I requested, but the rest of the minutes from January have been seen by everybody. If Sue, do you want to go over the change of the language for me, please?
I can go over that for you, Griff. On page 2 of the January minutes, the request came from you to make a modification to the last bullet under the Yarmouth representative comments. Originally, it identified Chairman Griffin commented that he had pulled up a digital street map and replied that the pilots would be staying in the pattern to make a left bank for a final on runway 33 during flight training. That was the old language. You asked us to modify it to what you actually said, which is Chairman Griffin commented that he had pulled up a digital street map and replied that a pilot staying in the pattern would be over Glenwood Street on base leg before turning left onto final to land on runway 33 during flight training. That was the only change requested.
Okay. Everybody okay with that on the January meeting minutes?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to accept the January minutes, please.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
All in favor signify aye.
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous. February minutes, same, but I don't think there were any changes to that. Everybody happy with the February minutes? Okay, hearing no objection, I'd entertain a motion to accept them as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Public comment. If we have public that is joining us today, anybody from the outside you wish to comment or address the commission, please do so. We welcome it. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and for 2 minutes, tell us what's on your mind. Linda, is that you?
Yep, that's me. I'm trying to just hook in. Linda Bolliger from Hyannis Park Civic Association. I decided to visit today and ask for an update on what's going on with your study that was promised in December regarding flight procedures over our neighborhood.
Sure. Chairman Griffin, can I respond to that?
Yeah, briefly, because is that it, Linda?
That's it.
Okay,
Sure.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
So we have been working with our on-call team from Airport Solutions Group, who's actually on this call right now. They've put together with their team and their sub-consultants a scope of work for that work. So you should be getting contacted from us shortly to go ahead and proceed forward with that additional analysis, Linda. So you'll be part of our stakeholder team. We will be requesting others in other areas of town to also be part of that stakeholder team. So other community groups as well.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Linda. Anybody else? Hearing none, we'll close public comment. Commissioner's response, other than, if any, other than what Katie just gave. Hearing none, thank you. We'll move along to subcommittee reports. Finance, Norm, what have you got?
We did not have a meeting this month. We didn't have enough to go over, so we did not have a meeting.
Nice short report. Thank you. Infrastructure and Marketing Subcommittee, Commissioner DeGeorge, please.
Yes, mine will be a little bit longer than Norm's. The Infrastructure and Marketing Subcommittee met on Tuesday, March 5th at 10:34 in the morning. Commissioners DeGeorge, Bearworth, and Gill were present. The meeting was held via Zoom. We had unfinished business to go over. INO 224-3, overview and report of the 2023 marketing campaign with Cape Cod Broadcasting Media. Michelle Resendez, the marketing consultant for us, went over that report and showed us a comparison of April to May in 22 versus April, May 23. And her graph showed that the digital campaign was successful. The commission has requested the following in her next report, and that would be to collate in-planning data to show value of additional customers from the campaign, email campaign for extracting various aviation markets, and possible talk radio spots for airport management. After that, there was no new business. Katie went over a few updates, which she'll go over today, and that is American Airlines and the Cape Cod Chamber Big Blue event. After that, there was no other business to discuss, and the meeting was adjourned at 11:25.
Thanks very much, Joe. Any comments or additions or regarding the Infrastructure and Marketing Subcommittee? Okay.
Mr.
Moving
Chairman,
on.
Mr.
Hello.
Chairman, hello, my name is Paul Phelan. I'm from Barnstable. I was unable to unmute in time for the public comments. Could I please comment now?
You got 2 minutes, Paul. We'll give you a break.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Griff. I'm coming on this afternoon, commissioners, because I read a recent report that's labeled the Innocent Memo, I believe. I was a little gobsmacked by it. My question is, was local town council approached regarding any of the questions the commissioners had? We have a great staff on our in-town legal office. Do you understand my question? Was the town approached first, our own legal department, to seek advice?
No, what are we asking here?
I'm trying to figure out why the council went out, well, not the council, but the commissioners went lawyer shopping in Boston to get a response to questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Laugh all
Phelan.
you want, Mr. Flores, but that's what happened.
Okay, Mr. Phelan, thank you very much. You've asked your question.
All right, that's one question. All right. I'm wondering how much was spent on the lawyer?
Thank you.
Can I have an answer now?
Not necessarily.
All right. Will I get an answer later?
John Flores, you want to chime in on this quick on, this is
I'll only respond.
commissioner's response real quick, and we're going to move on.
Yeah, my only response would be that I do know, and I wasn't really laughing or smirking, Mr. Phelan. There was someone behind my computer that was looking at me. As far as I know, as the commission is established, we do have outside counsel that specializes in the area of aeronautics law and everything that pertains to that particular specialty. I do know that our manager, Ms. Service, I know she contacts our own town attorney as often as possible to make sure that anything that can be done in-house, we do in-house. We have them, I believe, on a regular retainer on an annual basis, and we just use them as is needed because airports are such a special area with so many um, things that a typical town attorney probably doesn't know. I mean, everyone has their own specialty per se, so we try to be as accurate and as on top of our game as possible. So any information that we are creating or gathering is such that it is up to date, cognitive in terms of factual data, and we supply it to the town and to others in order to be sure that we are communicating in the most open, transparent way.
Thank you, John. Mark,
and
did
Gri-
you ever say something? Katie?
I was just going to state, thank you, Commissioner Flores, for mentioning that. I've been here for 9 years at the airport, and Anderson Krieger has been our outside legal counsel for at least that length of time. Prior to that, they were also our legal counsel, but I couldn't tell you the number of years. I'd have to look that up.
Thanks, Katie. Mark, did you have anything you want to chime in?
Just a comment, I'll put on the record. I wasn't aware until after the memo was written that we had consulted this council. I would hope going forward that this would be a discussion on the commission, and now I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. That was my next point, that I'm surprised it wasn't discussed in
Okay,
public.
Mr. Phelan, this is not a dialogue. We've got to move on now. Thank you for joining us.
I disagree that this is a dialogue, Mr. Griffin. I'm not done with just another minute or for a statement, please.
30 seconds.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, you didn't have to go to Boston to find out what you needed. You could have gone right up to 10 miles west to Joint Base Cape Cod, where the base, this is not a merge. This is not a closure as the attorney states. This is a merge. The Air Force needs us up there, not the Air Force, but the U.S. Coast Guard has an important mission. They need us up there. They want us to run that base. We could free up this land and just for 99% of the other residents of this town. I don't know
Thank
why.
you. Thank you, Mr. Phelan.
You're being obstructionist. It's not right.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Your time has expired. Okay. Moving right along. We are now into, well, we were just about to go to old business. We have an agenda item, COM 0224-3. Commissioner Weil, would you read that into the record, please?
Yes, sir. This is a motion to approve 2-year lease agreement by and between Cape Cod Gateway Airport and American Airlines effective June 1st, 2024. The sponsor is the Finance Subcommittee, and it may be acted upon at this meeting.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Okay, discussion, Katie?
Sure. Airport management has been working with the airport's attorneys, Anderson and Krieger, to develop a lease for American Airlines. We received slight modifications from American Airlines, as well as modifications that were made with our attorney's assistance. The lease is a 2-year term with 3 one-year option renewals. The initial year includes discounts from the incentive program, the airline incentive program, which is attached to their lease as Exhibit B. Year 2 rates will return to the fair market value that we're charging other tenants within the terminal, as do the option renewals. We estimated that the lease would be for 657 square feet to include office space, counter space, and a podium space at the gate after security for queuing of their customers. The lease has been provided to you, and the airport management is asking for any questions that the commission may have. Otherwise, we'd like to have you approve this item.
Any questions, discussion? Americans coming.
June 5th.
Amen. Okay, I'll call a question, please. All in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Everybody's there. We still haven't seen Wendy, but I hope she's listening somewhere.
She's
Okay.
joined us. She is here.
Oh, she is. Oh, good. Didn't see her on TV here. That's unanimous. I thank you very much. COM 0224-4. I was going to ask John to read that, but I believe we're tabling it.
That is correct. We are tabling it.
Okay.
Do you still want me to read it? There's no
You
reason
need
to read it, is it?
You can read it, sure.
No, is there a reason? Do we have to?
Katie,
No.
No, there is no.
No.
No
There's
reason.
No reason.
Being
Yeah.
made, there's no need to read it into the record.
There's a reason to table it, however.
Yeah, that I would like to know.
Yeah, the reason that we're tabling it, we did receive some red line comments from Atlantic Aviation that they provided to us. So we're working through those details right now with our attorney. The red line comments are not significant. I can bring it back to the April Finance Subcommittee so that they can see the final document and then forward it to the full commission for the April meeting.
Okay.
When does the lease agreement go into effect?
So the lease agreement now will go into effect for May 1.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we go to 0324-1. This is an update from WS Development on the landing.
Yes, so airport management conducts monthly meetings with WS Development so that the airport is afforded regular updates on their plans and their progress over at the facility. Amanda Chisholm, who is here with us today, is the development director for WS Development and project manager for that site. She will provide us with an update and their vision of the plans as they move forward over the next several months. So Amanda, welcome.
Thank you. You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Everybody's good?
Yep.
All right, I am going to share my screen. Just give me a minute here. Okay, can everyone see the landing at Hyannis?
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, so thank you, Katie, for that introduction. I think I've met most of you. I've done a couple of presentations on behalf of WS, and as Katie mentioned, we do talk regularly just to go through live updates. Today, I'm also joined by my colleagues, Katie Weatherby and Charlie O'Brien. I think Katie's on screen as well. So just letting you know, we have a couple folks from WS here with us. Katie asked me to come and just give a quick update of where we are at with the landing right now. So I figured I would start with just a quick refresh on our overall vision for the site, give you guys a quick update on our status in terms of the construction that's ongoing right now. And then I can talk briefly about what we anticipate as the next phase of development for the landing. Please feel free to jump in with questions at any time. So as has been presented before, our overall vision for the site is really to transform through a lot of intense site work across the entire site. As you've seen it play out, if you've been driving by the site, we've gotten through the majority of this at this point. We do still have some remaining work and anticipate that we will wrap up in May of this year. In addition to the site work that we've been working on, we've also been working on the building. So this main area, from where it says the green, this was the old Cardi space. Not sure if you can see my mouse, but walking all the way from Cardi's down through working gear and doing some significant facade upgrades just to really change the look and feel of the center. And it will really look like a whole new site afterwards. And if you've seen any of the progress thus far, it's coming along really well. The idea behind this was to focus on, in particular, providing more landscaping, breaking up the large parking areas by providing landscaped islands, and really in particular focusing on this welcoming moment at the main drive here when you enter the center. It's really a promenade, narrow driveway, new landscaping, new lighting, and a new whole approach to the building, which is also renovated. The green is also coming along really well. We've laid down the curbing. It's prepped for turf. The retaining walls are actually going to be poured this week. And we're really happy with how that's turning out as well, and think it's going to really define this corner of the center and create a really nice place for people to gather. We're going to be providing some common furniture and putting that out once everything wraps up as well. Benches that are bolted in place, as well as some movable furniture and tables, just to create a place where people can congregate. So that will be a really nice moment. Our tenanting strategy has been focused on also providing tenants throughout that will provide their own common seating and their own outdoor seating, again, for strategic activation throughout the center. And then I'll also just give a quick update in particular on this piece, the connectivity to the airport. We've put the stairs in place. We're actually waiting for the weather to turn a little better, although it has been quite nice, to pour this sidewalk before it's officially opened and the railings are placed. But I know that this was a key part of creating a more formal connection between the airport and our property. So that will be really nice when it's done, and all of your tenants can sort of walk over along this crosswalk up onto the property on the sidewalks and have a nice defined path, creating that connection there. So flipping from the site to the building, as you can see here, we've called out this section, which is our next phase of development, which I'm going to talk about in a minute here in a little more detail. But just wanted to spend a minute talking about what we've been doing preparing for this next phase. In the fall of last year, we actually went to Zoning Board of Appeals to get a formalized parking ratio for the overall property, which was an important part of being able to build new buildings, so that we could get a property parking ratio that would allow for that. So we went through the process with zoning board, got a special permit for that, and now have an overall parking ratio for the site. So that sort of opened the door for us to be able to move forward with some of these new buildings, which obviously are going to displace some of the parking, since this area is really just a large parking area right now. The other piece that we went through in the fall also with the Zoning Board of Appeals was a variance for signage. So now we have a property signage packet that we provide to all of the tenants, and it provides allowances for how much building signage each tenant can have. There are some different allowances depending on size and location. Some tenants have facades that face multiple roadways, so it's sort of defined in that way. And the zoning board had asked us specifically to do that because previous to that, tenants had been approaching them on a one-off basis, asking for signage. So this sort of defines it, provides a uniform manual that we can give to our tenants so they know what's allowed, and then they can go directly through that building permit process. As part of that variance, we were also approved for some pylon signage, and we're working on the pylon sign that will be at the main entrance here. So we're hoping to see that installed in the spring of this year, which will be a really nice landmark for the rebranding of the center. To have the new sign up with the landing, I think will be a nice moment as the center completes this first phase of construction. I know in terms of tenants, folks are interested in an update on that. So I thought I would just kind of walk through and let you guys know where we are as well on this slide in terms of the building. So starting on the Cardi side again, which is this left side, formerly Cardi's. We've done a ton of work here. We think the storefront work will probably wrap end of this month, beginning of next this coming April, sorry. And we're really focused right now on this end cap space. So that space, ideally, from a use perspective, will be a food use. We just think it's a really great place. It will complement the green. There's a space there that makes a lot of sense for an outdoor patio. So that's really been our focus, and we're trying to hold to that and find a really good use there. We're talking right now with a family-owned Greek operator that's quick service, and we've advanced through the agreement process, but it's not finalized, and it never is until it is. But we are hoping that we will be able to get a use in there that can provide that seating and just be a really nice complement to the common area and the green. The paper store also, who is currently located in this building, closer to Route 132, has expressed a lot of interest in being part of the new building with the nice new upgraded facades and realizing how nice the site's going to be. Also really interested in expanding their own size. So we're looking at this area of the building as well, and tied into a new lease in this space. We have heard that they may want to get even bigger, so there may be an opportunity for them to even expand beyond what they've signed up for. So stay tuned for that, and we'll let you know if that decision does move forward. Whole Foods in this space, we're anticipating that they will open in the fall of this year, and have been working diligently on that. That will be a really important moment for the center when they open, and I think will really help with future leasing trajectory as well. Past Whole Foods, we have a couple of smaller spaces until you get up to Burrito Bistro and Ulta. One of these spaces has been leased to Skin MD, which is a skin and cosmetic medical group. So they actually are working on their space imminently as well, and hopefully will be open this year as well. So that will be a nice fill-in in these spaces. We have a couple of other LOIs that are out with other tenants in these smaller areas, but nothing that's finalized. And then just working through renewals with the rest of these spaces, which is really the main tenanted portion of this building. For the remaining Kmart space, this might actually be an area where a paper store is looking to potentially expand. And then we're looking at, these are larger spaces. So in general, sort of more national tenants are a better fit for this type of space, but nothing final or nothing super advanced in this space right now. And then I can talk about phase 2 and tenants there as we drop into that, but any questions so far or anything else on that piece of it?
No, that looks,
I have one question, Amanda.
Sure.
Five Below and Old Navy sections, are they staying there?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
I-
And then just
so-
sort of flipping, sorry, go ahead. I can't see everybody. So.
No, I was gonna say, getting back, the one on the low right-hand corner, is that Tiki?
I was just about to ask the same thing.
No,
I
so
thought
this is sort of our overall conceptual plan for the site. So Tiki Port right now, we're not ready to redevelop this area where they're located. They are staying and we're happy to have them. In the future, we probably are going to redevelop this area. And at that point, we'll just have to have a conversation with them. You know, obviously it's going to require a significant amount of investment. So we'll have to have, you know, a really meaningful conversation about whether they want to be part of that or not. So.
But does that represent their building though, in that low right-hand corner?
No, this is the overall
No.
concept. So their building is much closer to the landscaped
Oh, okay.
area. And then
Okay,
there's
thank
that
you.
like smaller Ella's bakery in there
Got
too.
it. Okay, thank you.
Sure. I think I see another hand. Is
Yeah.
that,
Jim Wolf has a question.
hi Jim, how are you?
Hi, Amanda. How are you? It's been about a year, I think, since you were down, since we met with you. It's okay if I ask a question, even though I'm not on the board. Is that okay? Because it's not public speaking time. Chairman?
Well, we kind of know you, and we gave Mr. Phelan a late break, so you two, quickly.
Okay, thank you so much, John. Two questions, Amanda. When we talked before, you know, my interest is sustainability and messaging sustainability around the airport on that corridor and everything. And as I recall in the meeting, you guys said, well, we're not going to do solar on the parking lots, but we may later do it on the buildings. So my two questions are, and you know, of course, that's a way of reducing the financial burden on either the tenants or on you, actually, with this redevelopment. So my one question is, any solar in the plans? And my second one is, any charging stations in the parking lots? That's it.
Okay,
Thanks, Jim.
sure. So for solar, that is definitely an opportunity that we're interested in and agree with the sustainable aspect of that. We actually did submit to Eversource to see on an interconnection agreement, and we're just waiting to hear back from them. So again, like there's a lot of steps involved and financial analysis, and will the tenants allow it? So there's a lot to work through before we can say that we're final, definitely going to do it. But there's definitely the interest to understand the opportunity and see if it's something that we can do at the center. In terms of charging stations, same idea. We have a group internally that's focused on sustainable efforts across properties. We think there may be some opportunities here that I would say is in even earlier stages. So they're just trying to figure out where we can put them, what makes sense from a financial perspective, what operators to work with, et cetera. But it's definitely something that's under consideration.
And just one follow-up, Amanda, is that
Mhm.
on the parking, there on the charging stations, there is an incredible amount of free installation that are available in the state of Massachusetts with Fed and state money. So
Yeah.
if you're looking at, is that financially feasible? Now's the right time. The fire's hot. Thanks so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. Again, I can't see everyone, but I think I'm good. I can move on to the next slide, but feel free to jump in if any other questions. So I was just going to flip through a couple renderings again, just to remind folks of what this will look like. This is that corner by the green, the space I was talking about with the conversations with a Greek restaurant. This space here right outside where we're hoping to provide some seating for that restaurant that will tie in very nicely with the green, and then just really a lot of landscaping here to make it feel comfortable and a place where people want to sit, hang out, have a coffee, spend the day. And then this is the view of that same area from the other side. So if you do go over there, you'll see a lot of the layouts there. The turf will be placed as one of the very last things, obviously, just once it's all cleaned up and ready to go. Our main tenant here that I mentioned would be opening in the fall of this year, and also just a reminder on the overall sort of approach to design and architecture, the mix of the modern architecture style as well as some of the more traditional Cape Cod styles. That's what you'll see on site. And then one more rendering just to remind folks of this main approach, the new lighting, new curbing, sort of narrowed entryway with nice visibility of this newly renovated portion of the center. And then I mentioned the pylon signs, so I just wanted to give you guys a peek at this as well. Nighttime, daytime rendering. This is at approximately the same location as the existing Kmart pylon sign. It's just slightly north in the island, but at that main entryway, again, with the landing at Hyannis on the top, just providing a nice moment to sort of officially rebrand the center with a new sign. We did get permission as well and permits to put in 2 additional pylon signs at the other 2 entrances from Route 132. Those will likely come later. They're smaller sized as we have more tenants at the site as well. In terms of the second phase of development, so sort of drilling down into this area in red, right now we are preparing and working through with 2 tenants that have signed leases in these areas. So that's Chase Bank, which is here on the left, as well as Panera, which is here on the right. In the middle, we don't yet have signed leases, but we do anticipate this will be the layout, and we want to move forward and make sure that these tenants have the opportunity to open. We think it's really important for this center to establish more street presence, to be able to add to the activation in this area. Right now, it's a pretty quiet, empty parking area. So we think that having new buildings here will be really important in terms of overall momentum and leasing trajectory. So we do want to move forward. We're working with both of them now to finalize the details of what these sites will look like, but this is in general what we anticipate. And I'll flip to the more detailed plan.
Can I
Huge
ask a quick
caveat.
question?
Yeah, sure.
Why is Panera moving?
Panera not only is giving them an opportunity for more visibility, but it also gives them the opportunity for a drive-through, which is a really important part of their business model. So,
Is that where the Bank of America used to be? Where the
yes,
used to have the drive?
yep.
Okay.
This is where the ATM used to be, and that was actually demoed out already. It also gives us an opportunity to backfill their existing space with another restaurant use. So,
Got it. Thank you.
sure. Again, as I was saying, the big caveat is that we are currently underway and working with them. So this is what we anticipate, but it could change. We also have not yet officially filed for site plan review or special permit. So obviously through those processes, we'll be receiving feedback, and many of these items might be adjusted, but just wanted to give you guys sort of the overall idea and the conceptual plan that we're working with right now. So drilling in here, Chase would have also a drive-through for their ATM area. Panera, their drive-through would be located here. And then we would be providing a pad in the middle with either 1 or 2 buildings for future development. The landscaped islands would be installed here to create this nice curb edge along the main median. or the main driveway. And then here, this will remain approximately the same. There are a couple of adjustments that will be happening at the curb, and we'll be providing a nice buffered landscaped area here. So again, as I mentioned, we think this is a really nice step for the center in terms of providing that new street wall and activating this area. And combined with this landscaping that is actually happening now as part of the current construction, we think it's a really nice transformation for the site. In terms of timing, we're hoping to apply either April, May to start the process officially with the town. Again, sort of waiting for some feedback from tenants, which will drive some of that timing, but obviously we want to try to move it along so that we can get these guys open and operating on site. So that's my update. I'm happy to answer any other questions that folks have and hang out for as long as you want me to.
Thanks very much, Amanda. That's
Sure.
I love to see the progress, and I know a lot of people in town will be happy to hear the Tiki Port will continue.
I know. Yeah.
Is IHOP staying there too?
IHOP is also probably going to be renewed for a short period of time, but it's the same idea. We anticipate we'll redevelop that area of the site, and not sure whether or not they would want to be part of it, but we'd have a conversation with them.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thanks very much. Katie, any comments?
No, thank you, Amanda. I appreciate it. Thanks for the update. I think the commission was looking for that.
Sure.
We should try to implement regular updates once you have some more advanced information, just so that the commission is aware of what's happening.
Definitely. Let me know what works and we can get a regular update scheduled for sure.
Sure. Thank you.
All right.
you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, let's see. The next item on the agenda is COM 0324-2, and this is sponsored by the Airport Commission. Commissioner Gio, would you read that one in, please? Mark? Can anybody hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can
We
hear
can
you.
hear you now.
we can
Hear you
hear
now,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hold on.
You there, Mark?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right now, yes. So just
Okay, you
wondering
hear
if you
me.
could read this into the,
I'm trying to, I had it up on my desktop and I'm trying to get back to it now, but I'm having difficulty getting to it.
all
Let me
right.
read
Well,
it.
Just
in
bear with
lieu
me
of
a
that,
second.
in lieu of that, I can read it, but
I would
this
like,
is-
I would like to comment on it before it's read,
okay.
if I could. The purpose of this is to obtain a sense of the commission, the Airport Commission, regarding the interest in conducting a regional transportation study. There's obviously a lot of activity in this area, and there are concerns, at least I think on our side, that this is being positioned as an us versus them context with the town, and we want to relieve that notion. We want to disabuse it because there is interest on our side as well. So that's the setup to this thing, Griff, and you can go ahead from there. Thank you for allowing me to comment.
Very well, thanks. Okay, this is COM 0324-2. And this is a motion to approve the Airport Commission's support of any entity in the federal, state, county, or town level interested in conducting a regional transportation study, which will objectively evaluate transportation needs involving air, rail, ferry, and vehicular traffic for the Barnstable, Massachusetts region. Sponsor is the Airport Commission, and it may be acted upon. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Any further discussion? I think it's pretty well self-explanatory what it is, along with Commissioner Gio's comments. It's quite clear, and I think it backs up what Commissioner Gio said. John?
Yeah, I would only add that the purpose of this motion also reflects the fact that I think the commission as a whole wants to do what's in the best interest of the town. And not necessarily just any particular aspect, whether it be the airport itself, or whether it be ferry, or whether it be rail. Whatever is in the best of, whichever in the best interest of the community as a whole is really, I believe, what we will support and have supported.
Any additional comments?
No.
Hearing none, I will call a question. All commissioners who are in favor signify aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. What's next here? We have updates. No, wait, can't do that. Report of special committees, Yarmouth representative comments. Chris, are you with us? Chris was here.
I'm unmuting myself. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, there you are. Welcome aboard.
Actually, some people are actually kind of thankful for that. That I do mute myself on occasion. No, at this point, there are no additional comments. Obviously, things are of concern about the environmental studies and about the continuation of looking at PFAS and the other issues that are affecting the town of Yarmouth. And so those continue to be concerns. But for right now, there are no specific questions or anything that the town wanted me to raise. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chris. All right, Katie, updates.
Sure.
Oh, John?
I was just thinking there was a noise report also, wasn't there?
Nope, that's not till April.
No, it's on the agenda, okay.
No, just July, October, January, and April. We freeze?
Nope, we're here.
Okay, updates. Go ahead, Katie.
Sure. I'd like to provide you with the monthly finance update. Typically, this is provided at the finance subcommittee, but because we did not have a subcommittee meeting of the finance subcommittee in the month of March, I'll go ahead and provide it to you here. Just giving you an overall look of snapshot of where we are right now in the overall budget. So looking at this snapshot is as of where we were in our budget as of February 28th, 2024. And looking at our overall budget revenues and the summary of our revenues, overall, our charges for services such as jet fuel, rental car concessions, our land leases, we're all doing well. The rental car concessions are doing significantly well. At this point in time, 8 months into our fiscal year, we are nearly at what we had budgeted for the rental car concessions. Our budget is overall $486,000. We're at $457 at the time of this that this analysis was done. So we're doing quite well. Jet fuel sales are on target, being about 76% of where we thought we would be at the time of budget. And looking overall at our overall revenues in general, we split them up into two pockets. One, we look at total revenues without any type of TSA, CARES Act, ARPA, cursor, or bill grant funds that we've received from the federal government. We take a look at what our revenues are and where they sit at that point in time. So for revenues at about 9.3 million without those grants, with reimbursement from those grants, we're about 10.5 million in reimbursements from those grants. And looking at our budget summary for revenues, our top revenue producers, in speaking with the commission and the finance subcommittee, we actually do show two different types of reports. And looking at our top revenue producers, because of the way the Munis system collects data and the way that it tracks our overall operating budget, because we have to purchase jet fuel to sell jet fuel, it does not really give a true nature of where we are on our top 6 revenue producers. So if we just strictly look at Munis numbers without just looking at our raw net revenue that we make from jet fuel sales comes in as one of our top revenue producers. If we look at this on an annual basis, this actually flips. When we look at this on an annual basis, our land leases to non-aviation sources, such as WS Development, such as the parking lot that we rent to Steamship, such as the parking lot that we rent to HMI Parking or Reef Parking at the main terminal lot. Those types of revenue producers are actually number one. So in working with the airport's business plan or strategic plan goals that were started in 2018, one of the main goals was diversify our revenue stream. So prior to that time, we still had jet fuel being number one. Now with our agreements that we have in place with WS Development and others, our land leases are our top revenue producer. So, and typically we show that at the end of the year, once we close out our budget, because we're able to use those certified revenues that have come into our budget to identify what the overall net was for jet fuel, but it also identifies our true top 6 revenue producers. So that's just a caveat to that information. In terms of where we are for our expenses, obviously salaries, retirement, overtime, those are always our highest expenses that we have through the year. Our transfers to the general fund, that's the amount of money that we transfer over to the town of Barnstable because we're an enterprise fund. So as an enterprise fund, we pay for certain services that are provided and offered by the town, such as human resources or the IT department for our computers and our systems and our network system, for other fees that we pay to the town. So that's what that transfer to general fund is. That's allocated every year at a different amount. We pay about, depends on the year, but we pay anywhere from $700,000 to $1 million a year to the town of Barnstable for those services. And of course, purchasing jet fuel for resale, that's also a high item for us. If we look at our top 6 expenses, obviously salaries come in as number 1, followed by salaries in these two colors here, followed by the purchases for resale for jet fuel. In looking and drilling down into our jet fuel cost center, we looked at jet fuel revenue and we did a fiscal year comparison, looking at the revenue collected in fiscal year 2023 versus the revenue collected in fiscal year 2024. So at this point in time, as of the end of February, we were down about 13%. The dollar amount for jet fuel does fluctuate from time to time, but we're also down a little bit in our sales, and you'll see that in the next bullet point. But about 6.4 million was collected in fiscal year 2023 and 5.6 collected in thus far fiscal year 2024 for the month of February. So it's nearly $1 million difference from one fiscal year to the next. About 896,000 is the difference in revenue collected. For jet fuel sales, the fiscal year comparison for gallons sold in one fiscal year over the next, we're down about 5%. So in fiscal year 2023, we sold 1.1 million gallons of jet fuel. Thus far for this year, 1.07. So a difference of about 56,000 gallons or so. That's about 5.5 fuel loads. For jet fuel sales from a monthly comparison, looking, and I say March here, because by the time I did this report, we daily update our jet fuel sales. So we had that information, so I've provided it here. So we're up by nearly 1%. 21,393 gallons were sold in fiscal year 2023 in March thus far, and then 21,561 gallons were sold thus far this year.
Katie,
And looking, yes.
Katie, on that slide, could you go back to it?
Yep.
Do you expect on those top 2 categories that we will make up that difference between now and June 30th when we actually finish fiscal 24? Because this is an FY23 compared to really 3/4 of FY24.
Yeah, so we're tracking very nicely. In fact, you'll see in the next couple of slides that I do have, we're tracking on average what we thought we would see in this fiscal year. So if you follow the gallons sold last year at this time, the numbers are really, really, really close. So, there are instances where we might not be able to meet that. We have seen that general aviation, jet use traffic, jet aircraft traffic, we are seeing that they've been pretty stable. We are receiving a lot of our typical operations that do need jet fuel, such as some of the corporate or business type aircraft that come into the airport, as well as we've had a lot of Coast Guard that have been here recently. A lot of their helicopters have been on site. There were 2 here yesterday. We have also seen a lot of our medical evacuation flights that are here, and they also receive jet fuel. So it's pretty much on par where we've seen it in the last couple of years. We had a spike in jet fuel sales during COVID, but that's starting to normalize.
Okay.
This gives you a summary of where we are for this budget for the gallons sold. So John, this kind of goes towards what you were asking. So you can see if you're looking at like the peak during post-COVID fiscal year 2022, where we had 1.48 million gallons sold. It was a little bit less than that in fiscal year 2023. This is where we are right now for fiscal year 2024. We have several months before the end of the fiscal year, it ends June 30th, that we'll still see some of those areas climb. Will it be close to fiscal year 2022? Probably not, because we are seeing that normalization. And also nationwide, they're starting to see a normalization of some of these aircraft that typically general aviation aircraft operations in general are starting to normalize post-COVID. This gives you a snapshot of jet fuel gallons sold by fiscal year by the month. So John, this also goes towards some of your questions. So you can see that typically as we hit March, that's kind of like the end of that quiet season for us. And then we're going to start picking up in April, May, and June. And then with our highest bulk of typical sales being in July, August, and September timeframe. And looking at our budget summary for the rental car concessions to date, the rental car concessions revenue, they pay us part of their gross revenues. So 446,000, just over that, in revenues have been collected for this fiscal year. Our finance department identifies all of that revenue coming in into Munis. So there is a difference between the Munis reports and what we get from the rental car companies. As soon as we receive that information, it goes into Munis, but we don't necessarily get that right away from the rental car companies. So that's why you see a difference. So right now, the Munis reports are showing a little bit higher for collected at 457,000. They've been conducting a very strong business. So it's very obvious to us and to them that, even with the declines over the years that we've seen in some of our passenger traffic, the rental car companies are still very, very strong. Because they're centrally located in the commercial core of Barnstable and the commercial core of Cape Cod, they have a lot of traffic that they see from just off-street traffic, not necessarily associated with airline activity. Obviously, they do get airline activity. They're very excited for American Airlines to come in and to have that potential of future customers that they'll be servicing this summer. But they still have a very strong market being in the commercial core here at the airport. So Hertz has typically been the highest revenue producer, but this fiscal year we see Enterprise as a leader in the pack, followed by Hertz, Avis, and then Budget. So you can see there we have fiscal years from 2014 to today that show where each company is. Avis is in the blue, Budget is in the red, Hertz is the green, and Enterprise is the purple.
Are their rates usually the same approximately? I'm just curious as to why one is so much ahead.
No, I mean, it also has to do with consistent customer consistency. Enterprise and Hertz have always been very strong here. They have a following, if you will, of a certain customer base. Budget is not as strong here at the airport. They're usually, and for many, many years, as you can see from the chart, they and Avis are usually on the lower end in regards to their sales and what they offer here at the airport. I don't know if that's just in addition to having a better customer base of Enterprise and Hertz, but you know, they do have notoriously have more customers utilizing their facilities. The other thing that you have to remember is Enterprise has a lot of transactions that they do for a lot of businesses that they do on the Cape, and oftentimes they have that drop off and pickup opportunity that they have for their customers where they'll come and bring the car to you. So I think that's also strong here in Hyannis. In terms of airport operations and passenger activities to date, these numbers that I have for total passengers are through February of 2024. So right now, actually for the fiscal year, we're at about 25,000 in passengers. Obviously, we know that we'll start to see increases in June when American Airlines returns, when American Airlines starts. JetBlue is going to be in their 10th year this year, and they start Memorial Day weekend. So we'll see those numbers, at least for the month of June, start to pick up. Total airport operations, we're at about 26,000 right now. That is as of December 2023. We still do not have January and February numbers from air traffic control. So we'll be getting that from them shortly. Usually they're about a month in arrears, but we should have that data shortly.
Katie?
Yes.
Just want to interject and correct me if I'm wrong, but our passenger counts are based solely on commercial carriers. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good point. So passenger activity is based on commercial fleets only. So although we have the information available to us for some of the passengers, for instance, marine home centers, they carry about 1,200 of their employees annually to and from the island. So they go over to Nantucket on an annual basis. So daily, they're bringing their employees over there. We do not get passenger records from some of our FBOs. So we do not have that data available, nor do most of those entities provide that data to the FAA. So we don't have the number of passengers that are typically flying in and out of our FBOs, such as of Griffin Avionics or at Atlantic Aviation. That information is not available. Nor do we have information that the FAA counts, that's general aviation, you know, your single engine or four-place small aircraft. That information does not go into the FAA database. So the total passengers that you see here is 25,000 of commercial service only. It does not account for the thousands of other passengers that operate through this airport.
Thank you.
You're welcome. In looking at the airport
Katie?
operations, yes?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm still kind of baffled why it's taking so long to get the traffic count from air traffic. It's automated daily, and it's available the next day after the last day of the month. Have you had any discussions with them about why it's taking so long?
I can ask them. I can reach out to them. Typically, they only send it to us on a monthly basis, but I can certainly find out.
Well, that's fine for a monthly basis, but it should happen like within the first few days of the next month, not 2 or 3 months later.
And I will see if they can provide that to us. Not a problem. I'll ask that question.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And looking at this graphic, this is the monthly airline, again, passenger activity just shown in a different format. It shows basically where the peaks and the valleys are for passenger activity. So obviously for commercial passenger activity, we're seeing peaks starting really towards the end of May into June, July, August, and then it starts to slow down again in September and October months. Obviously, we've been talking to some airlines to provide off-season service, and we're still having those conversations, but we hope to eventually in the future provide some type of service that's in that off-season, October through the May timeframe. So we'll keep you posted on that. That's all I have for this update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next on the list is Strategic Planning Subcommittee. I think Mark and Norm, we just need to set a date so we can start doing that. That's just a reminder to get that moving
Okay.
forward. American Airlines update. March 25th, we will see that their team from Piedmont, who will be running the station here at the airport, they will start their security badging for the staff, which is exciting. They will be here for the season. They typically, what they do, just so you're aware, is Piedmont will bring in staff for the season. They obtain housing for them, which the week of the 25th, they have a couple of houses lined up that they're looking into for their staff. So they'll be working on that on the 25th. As we move in and roll into April 9th, that week, we'll start with phase 1 development of office build out. They'll start running their electrical and their cables for data, network, and air-to-ground radio that they need for their operation. They will be setting up their ticket counter and modifying it to insert the digital scales. And then they will also be erecting the sign behind the ticket counter so that when people enter into the terminal building, they will see that. The week of May 13th, phase 2 development will commence. They'll start with additional office build out. They'll add inserts to the counters that they're renting from us, and then they'll place their podium and their electronic sign in the TSA security checkpoint area. Any questions on American? Okay.
Nope.
Reminder, they start June 5th with flights to LaGuardia, June 20th with flights to DCA. Electric aviation update. Airport management has continued our conversations with MassDOT Aeronautics in regards to having a presence here with their Pipistrel aircraft. So we're still working through those details with them. We have completed our draft lease with Beta of Vermont to install an electric aircraft charging station on the east ramp. They're also looking at potentially a smaller facility over at Hangar 2 to work and coincide with Cape Air and possibly their mail run. Site visits occurred back in November to assess the area by their engineering firm. They updated our ALP back in February to identify the new infrastructure that would be put into place. I had a meeting with them yesterday. They are sending me a red line of their lease agreement to me so that we can take a look at that with our attorney. And then our next meeting is scheduled with them for the week of the 25th to go over next steps. They will be working with my team to develop a construction safety and phasing plan for the construction of their facility within the next month. We are still having conversations with Southern Airways Express and Surf Air Mobility to provide hybrid aircraft operations here at Hyannis. Those conversations have really stalled over the past couple of months, so I do need to reach back out to Southern Airways Express to reignite those conversations. In regards to the smart microgrid program that's underway with MassDOT Aeronautics, we're working through that. Phase 1 is nearly complete, and it's anticipated to be done by the end of this month, so within the next week and a half. Phase 2 is about to start, and then we're looking at August, September timeframe of this year, 2024, to request the funding that is needed for the implementation of the smart microgrid program. So this is really exciting stuff. We are going to be speaking about this program, as will MassDOT Aeronautics, at the event that we have here at the airport, the Big Blue Economy event that's going to be on April 30th and May 1 here at the airport with the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. And so day one, if you're interested, please let me know, because MassDOT Aeronautics and Beta will be here talking about their systems and what they plan for the future. You got the WS development update, project update from Chris Botswick. Chris, could you provide a quick update of the projects that you're working on currently?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everybody. The first project I'll give an update on is the Tower HVAC project that has reached 100% designed. We'll just need to send those design files over to the FAA to evaluate our CSPP and some construction evaluation. I expect that project to go out to bid this summer, and that's to replace the HVAC in the control tower. So pretty exciting. The next thing I'll touch on is equipment purchases. Through the MassDOT Aeronautics, we were able to secure 3 grants. We'll be sending our applications in, but we have basically verbal agreements as of now for replacement of 2 SRE pieces of equipment and a tractor. So that's exciting to upgrade our fleet there. The next thing I'll talk about is we have a floor jam project in our SRE building that we're working on doing the initial design on. And then on the field, Cape Air has had a wonderful project to replace their hangar doors. I believe they have the first hangar door replaced and installed, and they're working on the second one. So that's my update.
Thank you, Chris. And Jim, since we have you here from Cape Air, can you give any further updates about the hangar door replacement project?
Obviously, it's a little bit behind schedule,
Mhm.
but there haven't been any problems, significant problems at all. I guess the biggest problem was that our contractor cut your camera cable. I think it was repaired yesterday. I think it might actually be working again.
It is.
And, on Wednesday, the great improvement, which is our hangar doors will now have windows in them. The holes are there, but the glass isn't in, and it's supposedly going in tomorrow or Thursday. So everything's proceeding, and we switched over to the other side so that they could start working. That's the way we've done it. We just move from side to side. It's great. It's going, and we appreciate all your support on it. And you too, Chris. Thanks.
No problem. Thanks, Jim. And I'll just mention while Jim is here that we have just learned that Jim will be retiring at the end of this month. And we're going to really miss Jim. He has been integral to this airport coming into movement towards green technologies implemented at this airport. Jim was vital in the construction and the development of the 20-acre array that we have here today on this airport. He started the program that instituted or installed solar arrays on the 2 buildings that they rent from the airport. He has also installed electric vehicle charging stations for his employees in 2 parking lots that they have that they rent from the airport. And you'll be glad to know, Jim, that you've pushed us into the green technology realm. Obviously, you know that we're working on the smart grid program, but we just were awarded a grant, and I was going to save this for last, but we were just awarded a grant through the state, through the EV Make Ready program. A total project cost for 5 vehicle charging stations. The cost is $135,340. Of that, the airport is only paying $3,900. So we were just awarded that grant, and that includes all equipment, installation, and connectivity to Eversource. So, and that had a lot to do with Jim pushing us into looking at better ways to be more conscious of how we develop at the airport. So Jim, congratulations on your retirement, and thank you for assisting the airport for the many years that you've helped us get to this point.
Thank you,
Here, here.
Katie. And I'm going to be around. So there.
Thanks very much, Jim.
You will be missed. Oh, and if you want to see Jim with his story time on this Friday, Jim will be joining us for our Scout sleepover, a night in the terminal. And we have story time with Jim Wolfe, and he will be reading from his book that he wrote. So, The Clam Flats.
Once upon a time, it's a Cape Cod story. It's a lot of fun. Katie is the page turner on the big screen so that the illustrations are up on the screen. And the Cub Scouts are just incredible. I think this is my 3rd or 4th year with them telling stories. So, you know, come on down, I guess, if Katie wants you.
Yep, 8:30. Jim will be on point. Thank you, Jim. I only have a couple more updates, and then I can see if you have any questions. Airport environmental assessment, we're moving along with that. We've completed the draft environmental impact report that has been submitted jointly, that with the environmental assessment, which is the federal portion. The state portion is the draft environmental impact report. The comment period was extended, so we offered over 2 months of comment period for our community to respond to that. We received the secretary's certificate, which really gives us the scope of work in our marching orders to develop the final impact report. So it gives us the additional data and analysis that needs to be done. We received about 15 comments overall from the community on that, including about 4 or 5 comments from tenants here on the airfield. PFAS, public involvement plan update. So we are wrapping up where we are for our PFAS response. We've been doing this since 2015. We are at phase 5, which is one of the last phases before you're able to close out this release. So we're continuing to work with DEP on this. We will have annual reports that we must provide and status updates to DEP twice a year. We provide those updates to them, once in April, again in October. And we have decided that we are going to have annual meetings in November to give the community updates on where we are and where we are on our monitoring of our plume, and to provide any additional information in regards to the status reports that are provided to DEP. So look for that meeting in November of 2024. The DPW and the airport came to an agreement on mitigation of the impacts that have been associated with down gradient with the Mahar well. We have impacted one of the wells, and the plume is working towards that area. We came to an agreement in February, so we will be providing funding for the installation of their filtration system that they have provided at the Mahar wells to make drinking water safe within the town. And we will also be providing them funding for annual filtration updates that they have to provide. The next step is to speak with town council during a workshop in April to go over the airport's process and how we've proceeded forward with responding to PFAS. And then we will be presenting town council a funding transfer order to transfer those funds over to DPW for our impact associated with Mahar wells. Upcoming events, like I said, Night in the Terminal. This is our 3rd annual that we'll be doing with the Scouts. 14 Scouts have signed up to sleep over. We have many volunteers to thank. It wouldn't happen without our volunteers. So Chris Botswick and myself will be working that evening and the next day. So thank you, Chris, for your help in that area. Renna Kingsbury, who was our former intern from Barnstable High School and now a student over at Bridgewater State University, will be returning to help us out. Norm Weil here on our commission will be joining us to help out, along with Pat McNamara and Katie Waters, who is a former Southwest Airlines pilot that will be joining us as well. You've already heard about Jim Wolf attending for story time. And we also have some of our staff members that will be here to talk to the kids about different job opportunities in aviation, such as Bob Holzman from our operations department, Michael Piccini from our maintenance department, and Hildy Rios also from our operations department. April 30th, we have our Cape Cod Blue Economies Foundation's event, Big Blue. We're working on that with Cape Cod Chamber. They are showcasing the conference over in Aloft Aviation's hangar over on the East Ramp, which is wonderful. That's one of our newestly renovated hangars on the East Ramp. It looks lovely. He has done a really great job over at Aloft to make that hangar shine. So the event will take place there. The event on the 30th, I've provided you with the draft agenda, will include everything that's associated with aviation, electric aviation, and transitioning to electric aviation. We will have Beta from Vermont in attendance and on a panel that day, along with MassDOT Aeronautics, and myself will be speaking that day about electric aviation. So far, I do have Wendy and John Flores that will be joining us. If there's anyone else, please let me know as soon as possible. Or you can tell me here, raise your hand. Joe, okay, I'll sign you up, Joe. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right, June 13th with a rain date on June 20th will be festivities on the flight line. This will be the 3rd annual festivities on the flight line. It's an opportunity for people come and enjoy and sample the wonderful food from Island Cafe here on the apron. It's a unique setting. Helene Medeiros from Atlantic Aviation always brings over a static aircraft to put on display, and she's usually present with us to show support from our tenants as well for that event. It's a really fun event. In September, we have a very busy September. Cape Cod Young Professionals, we assume, will be back here for their bash on the 19th of September. A Great Day at the Gateway will be held on September 21st. We will be relocating that event over to a Loft Aviation's hangar because we got rained out last year. So we want to make sure we have covered space for that event. And then we'll be conducting our full-scale emergency exercise in combination with Hyannis Fire and other agencies, fire agencies all along the Cape on September 26th. October 24th, we'll have our 4th annual Southeastern Massachusetts Aviation Career Fair. And that is all I have for updates.
Pretty full slate of stuff. Thank you,
Yes.
Katie. Any commissioners' comments regarding the updates? Any commissioners' comments regarding just about anything they wish to comment upon? Mark?
Yes, sir. So I'm concerned that we are a public government body, and I want to make sure that we appear to be transparent and open and welcoming. And I know that sometimes public comments can be challenging to us, but I want to make sure that we're not conveying the wrong message in the way that we communicate with the public, in that we're trying to shut them down or avoid talking to them. And I'm not sure what that looks like, but I will just kind of throw that out there and ask us to keep that in mind as we go forward. That's it, Griff. Thank you.
Thank you. John, Brad, anybody?
Wendy has,
Yeah, just real quickly, any update on the noise abatement program you're working on?
Yeah, so thanks for asking that, Wendy. I think before you were able to join us, that question was asked during public
Okay.
comment. But we are working through the scope of work for that. We are working with Airport Solutions Group, who is our on-call engineering and planning firm. They have some sub-consultants that they brought on to help us with that. So we have a good framework of what that scope of work looks like to analyze both helicopter routes and to see if we can identify helicopter tour route voluntary flight procedures, as well as looking at how we can, if we can, modify any of our departure procedures. And that was the question that was raised by the town of Yarmouth, to see if we can at least look at that. So we are looking at that. That's part of that scope of work. So I haven't had a chance to chat with Bob Mallard yet. We did have actually two meetings in regards to that. So I just need to circle back with them to see where we are and finalizing that and getting a fee for that level of work.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Any commentary? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn with great thanks to everybody for another really good meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Don't hear any opposition. So once again, good day. Welcome to spring, and keep up the good work, everybody. Any objective, I would think of the objective viewer will realize this is a pretty good team of people, and you do a darn good job.